Hello and welcome to a ChiBizHub conversation. ChiBizHub, an initiative of World Business Chicago, is committed to serving Chicago's business resource providers and small business community. Our weekly web series, A ChiBizHub Conversation, is dedicated to providing information and access to subject matter experts on topics important to you, our small business community. Today's conversation is focused on embracing our new normal way of events, going virtual. Before we get started, we wanted to remind you that whenever you seek information on federal, state, city, and private resources, support, and information on webinars, loans, and grants, you can turn to our online portal, ChiBizHub.com/COVID-19. It's my pleasure to introduce and invite Jasmine Garcia, Program Manager, ChiBizHub, to begin today's conversation.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. ChiBizHub is the city's online portal that links expert service providers to Chicago's small businesses and entrepreneurs and startups looking to start, scale, or accelerate their business. In the wake of the coronavirus pandemic, we quickly shifted our work to include webinars like the one today, providing a forum where our business owners and providers can gather and get up-to-date information in real time, have the chance to get questions answered, and just simply connect with other business owners. In sum, we're all of this together. I welcome you to visit our portal at ChiBizHub.com and check out all the business resource providers available to help your business grow. It is my pleasure to kick it off to Kendra.
Thank you so much, Jasmine, for that warm introduction. Hello, everyone. So as Jasmine mentioned, we are ChiBizHub, and we have an exciting webinar today. So we will be talking about virtual events, our new normal. And so we know that with COVID-19, we've had to definitely pivot and look at transitioning a lot of our events to virtual events. So we are extremely excited. We have 3 wonderful panelists that you all will be blown away by today. So I want to start by briefly introducing our panelists. And then after we have our introduction with our panelists, we will get right into the questions. So please allow us at approximately 40 to 45 minutes for our actual panel discussion. And then we will have a Q&A questionnaire section there that will come immediately after. So thank you so much again for joining. And I want to share a little bit about who we have on our panel today. So we have Miss Alicia August Wright. Many of you may know her by her wonderful company, Events by August. So her company was founded in 2009, and it's recognized for creative event and wedding planning, floral styling, and event design. They are an event planning and design company that creates spectacular signature events. They infuse art and visual expressions to create remarkable experiences. With signature accents, unique services, and creative approaches, they plan, execute, and help bring your event from concept to success during the process. Alicia's company is a Chicago-based company that offers event, wedding planning, event design, and program development for individual and institutional clients, experienced in corporate and social and non-for-profit planning. So thank you so much for joining. Next, we have Dara Michelle. Dara Michelle Events Consulting is a core team of professional and creative event management specialists with a decade of experience. They produce high quality events of every type and scale. Their passion is managing the behind the scenes details so you don't worry. They represent your event at the highest caliber. They design events that deliver superior experiences for your guests. They exceed their value clients' requirements and expectations. Every event is unique and special with its own distinct audience, tone, personality, and set of business objectives. Dara has always exhibited an appreciation for self-empowerment, personal development, and community empowerment, as she has passionately used her skills and strengths to not only give back to her community, but also to impact the world through her events. Dara has been an influential part of her community in Chicago, where she devoted her time to empowering women through events, life coaching, and mentoring. Dara received her bachelor's degree in public health with an emphasis in healthcare from Northern Illinois University. And she went on to pursue her master's in business administration from Argosy University to expand her knowledge in her chosen field and make a difference in her community. It has always been a dream for Dara to impact the lives globally through event planning and consulting. Dara has had the honor of attending multiple empowering events, which have allowed her to reconnect with the world, as well as have a better understanding of herself. And last, but certainly not least, we want to introduce Ms. Hannah Fernandez. Hannah is the founder and CEO of ROI Business Funding. She is the first woman to become chair of SCORE Chicago. So congratulations, Hannah. She is a graduate of the University of Chicago. Hannah has over a decade of experience in startups, sales, marketing, and management leadership. Hannah advocates for small businesses who have limited access to capital and networks, and she empowers women and minorities to be in positions of leadership and influence in business. Hannah is the host of SCORE Chicago TV's Let's Talk Business show, and she is a featured expert columnist in Where Women Create Work magazine. She served on the City of Chicago Mayoral Business Council, and she is a member of the Advisory Collective Council for the Illinois State Comptroller and Community Board, member of Metropolitan Family Services. So as you can see, we have a great team that's going to share a lot of great tips and hints. And so we definitely want to go ahead and get started with our panel. So I want to just go ahead and jump right in. And we really want to learn more about your organizations and your businesses and what neighborhoods are you located in and what neighborhoods do you primarily serve? So Alicia, can you share a little bit about what community you're in and who you primarily serve when you think about your customer base?
Hello. So we service all the Chicagoland communities and some out of state. We are proudly operating on the south side of Chicago. So we have our design studio and our office located in Hyde Park. So we design there, we meet clients there. So because we take our work majority of the time with us, we can service anywhere in the city. But majority of our clients are south side and north side.
Awesome, awesome. Derek, can you share a little bit about where you're located in the city of Chicago and primarily what neighborhoods, when you think about your clients, what neighborhoods are most of your clients in?
Of course. I first just want to thank you all for the opportunity. So again, we are a Chicago-based event management firm. We service most of our clients in the South Loop and Bronzeville area, but we also have a reach outside of Illinois and outside of the United States. But primarily, we service our clients in Bronzeville and in South Loop.
Awesome. So we see we have a reoccurring theme about the South Side, definitely. And Hannah, let us know if you can hear us. We want to hear a little bit more about who you've been servicing. Hannah, are you there? Okay, we apologize. Hannah is experiencing just a few technical difficulties, but as soon as she joins, we will definitely revisit the question. I'm going to turn it over to Jasmine so we can get more into detail about this, what this great panel is doing.
All right, sorry. Now I'm experiencing technical difficulties, but here we are. We're good. So anyway, thanks everyone for joining us. We're going to head into our next question, and I think our audience is curious about due to the pandemic and the restrictions on the amount of people allowed to gather in one place. We've seen many businesses and organizations and groups pivot to the virtual events for the very first time for some of them, right? So we were curious if you can talk about how you've also pivoted with your events virtually and online. We can start off with Alicia.
Sorry, I had to keep muting and unmuting. We have hosted a number of virtual events, anywhere from we took our floral design workshops that we typically teach in our studio. We started doing those online through Zoom in groups or individual one-on-one. A lot of the times we go live on our social media. We do more of that now so that our clients and the audience, the social media audience that we have, they get to see us in live when we're shopping for clients, or we're out in a store and we're inspired somewhere, or even when we're shopping for our own personal selves or our homes and our families. We started a weekly Wellness Wednesday live chat that later turned into us starting having one day a week where we sell plants in our studio. We've always been pretty transparent and authentic with our social media. I have my personal page and I have my business page, but a lot of it carries over. So it's just been pretty cool now for our audience to see us even more transparent now that we're all kind of like in this vulnerable state now.
So like Alicia said, we've been doing the same thing. So we did host a few virtual experiences. We had a virtual slumber party. I've done a virtual picnic, and then I've also did a lot of like training for like, you know, new planners who want to become event planners, just really trying to pour into them and giving them resources and tools. And then also using this time to just like Alicia said, like share the behind the scenes footage of like being an event planner. So if it's from going to the store or doing a back end of me creating systems or whatever that looks like, I've really been using this time in a virtual space to really just connect more with my audience and be more engaging.
We see Hannah, you're back.
Yay,
Can you hear us? We good?
I'm so excited.
Yay! So we're gonna backtrack everyone just a little bit because we want to make sure that Hannah is able to share with us, you know, the area that she serves and provides services for. And then also, Hannah, if you can share right now, we were talking about maybe any virtual events that you help plan or anything like that. That's kind of the question that we're on right now.
Definitely. So with RI Business Funding, it's Chicago-based, and but we fund businesses and startups across the country. And a lot of the small business owners, when they go to banks, they're not fundable. So the company always also offers technical assistance to make sure that these entrepreneurs and businesses become fundable. And banks typically expect them to be back within 2 years. That's if they actually do everything that, you know, we instruct them to do. And for my other role as chapter chair of SCORE Chicago, one of our main focus is really to share our services with under-resourced communities, especially in the south and west sides of Chicago, because that's really where it's needed the most. And so we're located in the West Loop, you know, where the Ogilvy train station is, but we service all these 77 neighborhoods of the city of Chicago, as well as the west and south suburbs. And just a quick background, SCORE's been around as a resource partner of the SBA since 1964. And we've been offering free and also confidential business mentoring to businesses across the country. So it's your taxpayers' dollars. So definitely go ahead and take advantage of these free resources that we offer.
Awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that, Hannah. And we definitely want to just call out that SCORE is a business resource provider on ChiBizHub. We've definitely partnered with Hannah, and they do have great resources. So again, utilize these resources, especially during this time, to grow your business, to start your business, and they're free of service. So the next question, I think, is the $1 million question that everyone wants to know. And so when we think about virtual events, can you all share tips or advice on how to create an interactive virtual experience? And when you think about that question, think about it from the standpoint of, we have people on here that are from organizations, nonprofit organizations, or some of them have small businesses. So they're really wanting to hear your expertise on how they can really create those events. Alicia, would you mind sharing some possible tips with us?
We always have a schedule, but we're very big on always being open to be able to freestyle with things, because there's always glitches, or a conversation can get started and go one way. So we always tell our clients that we're setting up virtual events for to kind of also have like a plan B agenda as well, where we like to be very detailed with our attendees beforehand so they know how to prepare for their festivities. So like with our workshop, with our last floral workshop, we kind of asked each guest what song gets them in the mood to be creative. So we always have like a playlist that we share during our workshops, and then we also give a copy of the playlist at the end. We just try to make it more fun, engaging, regardless if it's for corporate or if it's for social engagement, because we really believe in that if you're not emotionally attached to the event, or if you're not able to stay engaged, then it's kind of pointless. So we tend to do things very untraditional, and that's about it. Yeah.
No, those are great tips. I've never heard anyone mention a playlist. So we need to look at that one, Jasmine. That's a good tip.
Yeah, we love music. I love music, and my whole team does. So we even have like a playlist just for our studio, depending on what mood it is. And then we have a Sunday playlist. So music is very important because it keeps us engaged, whether we're in a Sade mood or we're in a Nicki Minaj mood. It just depends. We have a playlist for everything, so we're always ready.
I love it. Those are great tips. I hope that our participants are taking notes. Dara, can you share with us? I mean, already you've kind of already talked about some creative things like a virtual slumber party. Like who thinks of that? I mean, that's amazing. So can you share some tips and some advice for a lot of the business owners and nonprofit organizations that are really trying to find the great way to have effective virtual events?
So I think like Alicia was saying, you really have to step out the box when you're thinking about planning and experience, and really, think of something that's different that's going to make these people want to even sit or pay for your experience. And I'm really big on themes. So that's how the slumber party came into part. It's like, I know I want to give out knowledge and information, but let me do it with a twist. So let me create a slumber party where we all come in our PJs and we can still have a good time, but it can be informative. And so that's how the slumber party series came about, and also the virtual picnic. And it's like, really having themes for your experiences just gives it something different for the attendees. So versus them having to sit at home at their computers, they could sit in their yard, create a picnic, and then everybody can have the event that way. I also think it's really good to have like an icebreaker, to have like something like out of the box and random happen through your experience. So I know when I do my events, sometimes we'll have like a wardrobe change and people be like, huh? But it just gives them something to think about, and it's fun and exciting. So it's like everybody will change their t-shirt or, put on a different lipstick. But again, I feel like the biggest thing that we struggle with virtual experiences is keeping the guests engaged. And so when you do something that's going to lead them like, oh my, can y'all believe I went to this event? They had me change my shirt. It's going to have them talking, but it's also something that just make them like, you know what, I want to go to the next one. So I think like really thinking about out of the box experience, thinking about having a theme, like Alicia said, having a playlist or even bringing in a DJ is also, I think, another great way that you could expand upon your experience, and also bringing in some type of entertainment, whether it's some talent, a poet, somebody that can dance, just so that it's not a whole hour or 2 hours of us just sitting looking at a screen, but it's like, no, we finna have a break, or we're gonna have an after party or a pre-party, so that at the end of the day, we want to keep the audience engaged.
That is phenomenal. Wow. Again, great tips. Hannah, I am definitely excited to hear what you have to say. I know that you've been doing several virtual events with ROI funding and SCORE, so please share your knowledge on this topic as well.
So one of the things that's really fantastic about RI Business Funding and also SCORE Chicago is that their missions and visions align. And so, for example, with SCORE, our vision is to really make sure that every single entrepreneur that we serve has the support they need to thrive as small business owners. So it's very important as businesses and also as nonprofits to capture the audience's attention right from the beginning. So what you want to do is make sure that you make it relevant by really making and telling a clear and compelling story. And this will actually keep the attendants tuned in. And also, as soon as they see your mission, you know, how this will really impact their lives or businesses in a great way, and that's what's going to make them attend. And so whatever you're teaching, whatever lesson it is, make sure that it's relatable by using real life examples.
Thank you, Hannah. That was very helpful. And to the rest of our panelists. By the same token, I think we're also curious about, you know, what have you found to be most challenging in planning these online events or workshops? And perhaps, you know, maybe how you overcame one or two. I mean, we know some of them we're still kind of learning, but if you, to your point, Hannah, right, like personalize it. How have y'all kind of made it through this?
I've personally find it easier when I design events or experiences for my clients, or if I'm having a company public signature event. I find that it's easier to communicate with the guests in whatever is going on real time. So again, like with me being transparent, and like this last year and a half, almost 2 years, I've been going through a new like wellness journey, and I've just been more open about that. And then when COVID-19 hit, and then when the protesting and all those things started happening at once, I was able to not just take a story that I've already been sharing with my audience, but I was able to take some of the experiences or tactics that I use at home for myself and be able to recreate those as experiences for my clients or for my audience. So we host small wellness events, or we may share something from another vendor that maybe like yoga classes or meditation. So I always try to use like real time scenarios with the story, or however we're trying to engage with our audience.
So I think with my clients, two challenging or struggle areas that we ran across when virtual experiences started happening was deciding what platform to use, because there's so many different platforms. You have Google Hangouts, you have Hopin, you have Zoom, you have Big Marker, what I just learned about. It's so many different platforms that you can use to do a virtual experience, and it's like, which one do we use to make it make sense for what my client is trying to put on, but then also make it engaging enough where the audience is just like, let me just turn my computer off, put my name up and just keep it moving. So that was something that me and my clients had to walk through together, and we had to like do a lot of tutorials and a lot of trial and error to see what makes sense. And what I've learned is that every platform makes sense for different people. And so just being open to just try, and if it failed, be okay with that and just learn from it. And then I think another challenging area was the engagement piece. Like they was telling me like, I still want to be able to, sell my my event at $35, but how do I get people to buy into a $35 virtual experience? And I'm like, it's all about engagement. Like Hannah said, from concept to execution, you really have to engage your audience early on, whether it's creating personalized flyers, whether it's putting them in in a group on Facebook to create community. Like, you have to start early, so then leading up to the event, they can have that wow effect, and then after have something to just keep them still in case you have something different. So I know for me and my clients, the two things that we kind of, was tug of war with was thinking about a platform to use, and then really that engagement component.
I'm a very energetic person, and I feed off, people's energy for face-to-face events. So it's definitely far more challenging to hold an audience attention in a virtual event because I can't jump up and down. I can't do all sorts of, like hand gestures. So, so without that face-to-face aspect, you still have to get emotional buy-in from your remote attendees to make that impact, right? So as organizers, you have to implement creative and effective ways to really deliver that powerful experience, even though, somebody could be across the city or across even the United States to hear you. So when you're creating an online experience, that means that you got to go ahead and find out more of the benefits for the clients and really bring more value. And to do that, you're going to have to provide outstanding content and really leverage that technology to pull the audience in. And then as soon as you go ahead and get them hooked and attending your event, you got to make sure that experience is worthwhile. And when you do that, one of the challenges also is keeping them back, going back time and time again, because, for my business and for SCORE, it's not a one-off event. It's like you want to keep them coming back and back. And if they attend your events and it wasn't worth their time that first time, they are not coming back.
Ladies, excellent. I mean, these are phenomenal tips. Jasmine and I are over here taking notes because these are some of the same things that we have encountered when transitioning from being a very front-facing organization and an initiative to now pivoting to virtual events, creating content that our business owners and our business resource providers would like to actually see and hear. So this is phenomenal. So the next question, I want to actually find out from you all, what is the biggest misconception that people have when planning virtual events? So Alicia, if you can just share with us, I know you've probably had a couple of people that have had some of those misconceptions.
That they're easy and it's simple just to log onto the computer and get in front of the camera, which is not true because being one person in real life and then being someone you're the center of the attention is two totally different things. So it's always good to have a rehearsal, have prep questions or a theme in mind, to be able to tell all the attendees when to speak, when not to speak, because sometimes when more than one person is speaking at the same time, it may cause like an audio glitch. Find ways to be comfortable in front of the camera. Whether it's like putting on something that makes you comfortable or you're drinking your water out of something that makes you feel more at ease, being in a certain room of your home or your office, but definitely testing out the systems. And then also, just because you may have like a free webinar or a free event, most people think, oh, it's free, everyone will join, which is not the case because right now we're a little oversaturated with a lot of virtual events or a lot of live, IG live events. So I always tell people it's very important to make sure, however you're inviting people, that your presentation is well, meaning like your flyer or even like your social media page, period, has like a clean look, because that's your potential guest, like first introduction to you. So if all of that looks kind of janky, for better words, like no one's going to sign up for your webinar, whether it's free or not. And to also make sure that even if you do have an intent to sell something at the end, to make sure that everything isn't so sales gimmicky in the front of it, so that people can feel more comfortable. Like you might have to do a few free webinars before you can start selling yourself. So I tell a lot of people now, like, now is really not the time for, like, I know, like, now is not the time. We're not going to have so many like private events, because people are not having events, and we're not also allowed to have so many in the group. But now is the time for you to allow your audience to see who you are and to see who your company is. So everything can't always be about financial. You want people to be able to gravitate to you, so that when it is time for us to go back to being normal, they're already comfortable with you and your brand.
Thank you so much, Alicia. Dara, would you mind sharing what have been some of the biggest misconceptions that people have had about virtual events, when dealing with clients that may have want to put on events?
So I agree with Alicia about, it's a team is still needed, because you need people to be behind the scenes to fix any glitches, any troubles. If you have PowerPoints, you need somebody just to be able to man that, so that you can be the spotlight of the event. I also think another one is that people can't charge for events, or I have a lot of nonprofit clients. And so some of them be like, well, can we still do a virtual fundraiser? And yes, it's possible. I feel like what Hannah said in the beginning, if you have content that's relatable, that the audience still values and still feels like this is something that they want to give to, I think it's possible. And all you have to do, again, it goes back to that creativity. So if you are a nonprofit and you know that you usually have your gala where you can accept donations and accept funding, it's still possible. It's just that now you have to get creative to do it. So if you have a $75 event, and when it was in person, you provided food and you provided swag. Okay, now it's time to think about, how do I make that virtual? So you can still include the food in their experience and have it delivered to their home. You can still give the VIP guests swag bags and have designated pickup spots where they can come pick up the products. So again, I feel like all of those things that we did in the in-person space can still happen in a virtual space. It may not be all of the components, but some of the things can still happen, as long as you have the strategy and the creative tools to get it done.
That's exactly it. In planning events, the biggest misconception is that you don't need a strategy or a game plan. In fact, it's actually that, when you're hosting a virtual event, it requires the same careful care and attention as an in-person event. So it really goes back to business fundamentals. When business owners and entrepreneurs come to me and my team, it's really about, okay, what are your goals? And let's go ahead and make sure that we're targeting the right people. And then let's figure out the best way to go ahead and connect to them, right? And so you still need those goals, and you really still need good marketing, and you must provide value. I cannot stress that enough. And without that targeted and effective promotion, and also frequent reminders, there's so many events going on, like the ladies mentioned, that if you're not at the forefront of your clients' minds, you're going to be forgotten. If it's not in the calendar, it will be missed and your attendance will suffer. So with the virtual events, it really goes back to outstanding content, and then really having that powerful delivery and making it memorable. And those are the key to engaging your attendees. And also, the earlier you plan to make that happen, the better it will be for you and your team, and also the attendees as well.
I mean, I can't say I'm surprised we picked some of the best to talk about this topic. You're hitting on everything, and I really appreciate, Hannah, right now, what you were talking about strategy. Even for us, Kendra and I, we have to do the questions. We have to, what date is best, what time, right? How are we going to prepare our presenters to talk about exactly what we think our audience needs? This isn't something that, you put the night before. And to your point about the marketing, I think the marketing is critical too, that a lot of folks forget about, because you have to put something together so that it reels folks in when they already have 70 plus different events to go to. They're like, well, what's the competitive advantage of this one? Why do I have to go to this one? What am I going to learn from it? What are my takeaways? How is this going to help my business, right? So you hit on every single one on the mark. I think the rest of our audience members are also taking notes on this, of not forgetting strategy, not forgetting marketing. And I obviously want to make a shameless plug of, ChiBizHub and our platform, right? We have all the business resource providers on the hub for you to be able to like hit this marketing component that we're talking about, hit this strategy component, you know, our list of events on ChiBizHub that shows all of the workshops that you should be attending and all the events that you should be attending that'll help you grow your business. So just something to consider. I think for our next question, if we could look into, you know, as we're all talking about being saturated with all these events, right? And we want to know what you look for to help determine which virtual events you personally attend. We can start off with Alicia.
Are we starting off with me because my name starts with an A? I determine by where the information is coming from. So I'm kind of nosy, I guess. So when I see something, I'm usually like looking at who's hosting it and if it has partners or sponsors. The same thing, I'm looking at that. And because I'm visual, and I know the flyer may not have anything to do with the actual event, but to me it does, because it shows me, one, how much time you really put into this, like how important it was for you. So I look at that. And usually like with events, they'll tell you like what you should be able to walk away with, you know, beforehand. I read that, so I make sure that I'm not wasting my time or wasting a spot where someone else could utilize that time. And then I wanted to go back on something that the last question, when we were talking about how do you get people to come back, to keep coming back to your webinars or to your virtual events. What I've learned is, well, period, throughout my whole career, I've always been really big on community over competition. So anyone that really knows me knows when you see me, it's not just Alicia or Events by August. I'm always co-partnering or always working with other vendors. And sometimes we can do similar things or the same thing, but we're all growing together. So a lot of the virtual events that I have personally hosted, I always use other small businesses, or definitely other small minority-owned businesses. What helps with that, like with one of our virtual workshops, we always work with Do Well Chicago, which is a craft lemonade company. So like for Mother's Day, when we did our flower workshop, we had a mimosa kit, and then plus their floral kits that they can pick up. And that you just came to our studio, you picked up everything. So not only were you supporting one business, you were supporting two small businesses. So what that does is we're cross-promoting, and we're promoting each other brands. We align with each other brands, so that the next time when we do something together or individually, we've already started tapping into the other company's audience. So that's always a good way to grow your audience, by working with other companies that align with your mission or your brand. Or it can even sometimes be a company that does opposite of whatever you do, as long as it aligns with whatever the event is.
I think for me to attend a virtual event, I'm really big on content. So I usually try to look at like what the agenda is, you know, what the event is about, because for me, events are more than just, you know, a tablescape or a balloon garland. Like, events are powerful. They kindle relationships. They create community. They connect people. And so when I look to attend a webinar or a virtual experience, I really want to look like, you know, how is this either going to help me, develop me, grow me, or, you know, partner me with somebody who could take me to the next level, or vice versa. So I'm really big on the content. I'm really big on looking at the agenda. I'm really big looking at like who is actually hosting the event, if they have a co-host, if they have like any sponsors. And then I'm also looking at like what's the fun component to it, because like Hannah said, I'm a creative. I have a bubbly personality, so I want to know like, okay, after all this, like, do you have any part of the session where they're gonna give a prize for the person who got the best lipstick? Like, so I'm also looking at that piece as well when I'm thinking about a virtual experience.
Absolutely. And for me, I really look for outstanding and useful content as well. As in addition, I also look for the quality of the speakers. So if it's speakers that I trust and like, I'll definitely go ahead and make sure I attend those. And also, as we talked, there's with so many options and so many things that we have to get done for our own businesses, I want to make sure that when I attend an event that it's worth my time. And also, the third one is if it's a partner like ChiBizHub and the City of Chicago BACP, I'll definitely go ahead and make sure I'll share that and also make time for that, because definitely partnerships is the one thing that we always need to leverage as we're promoting our events, because we're not a competition. In fact, we also enhance each other. Again, it goes back to all of our missions here is to go out and support one another so that we can really make sure that the entrepreneurs in the city of Chicago and across the state and across the country have all of our support to make sure they thrive. So when promoting webinars, it's so important for organizers to make sure that the titles, the descriptions, for the events are relevant, descriptive, and also very compelling. And you want to make sure that the value is very clear in that marketing.
Thank you so much, ladies. That was, again, great. And I mean, it really talks about, all of you mentioned key things, which is community and connecting. And so as we continue ChiBizHub to, continue to build our community, we hope that we can continue to partner. And I think that's one of the most important things. During this time, Jasmine and I have found that we are continuing to uplift businesses and uplift resource providers, because we want to make sure that the message is getting out. We want you to be able to share your journey. So we're excited that you all were able to join us so people can just learn more about you and really hear your stories. So when we talk about virtual events, I know we've talked about some misconceptions and some challenges and some pain points, but we really want to hear from each of you. What do you really truly enjoy about planning virtual events? So how about we do it in reverse and we start with Hannah first?
So my favorite part is I love planning how my team and I can effectively drive that impact to our clients and the communities that we serve. So I really enjoy seeing the results, such as hearing from the attendees that we gave them hope, that we've empowered them to be a little bit better, that they're so glad that they attended the event. And now, because of these resources, they don't feel alone, that they're not alone in this journey of being an entrepreneur. So all these outcomes and really hearing from real people that we make a difference in, these all make it worthwhile for me.
And I think for me, it's really the component of stretching my clients. So really having them come outside of their comfort zones for them to know, like, because before COVID-19, a lot of my clients never thought of having a virtual event. And you can reach so many people on a virtual space. And so I really try to let them see the beauty of this whole COVID-19 and the virtual experiences, because it's teaching them how to not only be able to, put on an in-person event, but in the event that you have to put on a virtual as well. Right now, we are going through the process of you leveraging this with this opportunity and being able, like Hannah said, to reach your audience, to impact them, to motivate them, to inspire them. Whatever it is that you want to accomplish, whatever your goals are for your virtual space, is really, stretching my clients to think outside of that box. And then it's also giving them time to be still, to really think about the event goals, the strategy, the marketing strategy, because a lot of times when we have the in-person events and they doing a lot of things, it's like they don't really take time to really strategically align what it is that they want the people to come from the events, how they want to put it on, what marketing plan do they have. So this time now is really just giving my clients time to really think about how to monetize the virtual space and how to scale my events going forward.
Alicia, if you wouldn't mind sharing.
Hi, sorry, my screen switched up on me. I agree, so that I don't have to repeat everything. I agree with everything that the lady said. One of the things that I enjoy the most is always pushing clients a little bit out of their comfort zone. Um, Lately a lot of our clients have been corporate clients, so I always tell them how important it is that people see who they are. So again, I kind of like what I said earlier, I enjoy watching them be in their natural authentic environments where their kids are around, or they're in their favorite lounge wear, or they're wearing their favorite t-shirt from college, or their favorite small business brand. Like now I have on one of my favorite small business brands. So I like for clients to showcase that, because it shows that they are still relatable to the everyday consumer, or their everyday guest. And it's okay if the dog is barking in the background, or we want to see you drinking out of your favorite mug, whether it's something your kid made or whether it's an inappropriate mug from Spencer's. Like, I encourage that, because again, we're all in a space where we're not in our normal everyday today space. We're either vulnerable, or we're more open, or where some of us may be sad or depressed. Like, it's okay to showcase that, because it allows the consumer or your guest to engage with you more, because now they're more comfortable. I don't feel like you have to always be like suited and booted. Like if you were going to your downtown, office or whatever, just be authentic you. And that would help keep the audience coming back and coming to more webinars and more virtual events. So everything else that Dara and Hannah said, I wholeheartedly agree. But I am very big on kind of like the emotional designer. I'm very big on making sure that the person itself that's hosting the event is really showcasing themselves. You have to mute me back because I don't know what happened to my mute button.
Thank you, Alicia. You actually just brought up a really good point. I think that at the start of this, all of us were so focused on, like, I have to sit straight and not move 1 inch this entire webinar, or like whenever you're doing a workshop or anything like that, right? And we were forgetting, I think for a while, that this is not normal. Stop pretending like this is okay. Or, many of us don't even have an office at our homes. Like, we're working off our kitchen tables, right? So I appreciate your point about just being authentic, because yes, your audience, I think, will totally resonate with that and will keep coming back, because they're like, wow, I can resonate with this. I'm going through the same thing. So thank you for highlighting that. Thank you for all of our panelists and the great information that they shared with us today. I want to make sure that our audience knows, please, like, how can they get in contact with you, right? If you can share, as we're closing now, your information via the chat box, share how they can connect with you after this webinar, and if you're comfortable, your email address or website. We can go ahead, Hannah, if you'd like to kick us off with this.
Definitely. The best way to connect with me is on LinkedIn. So I always suggest people to go ahead and write a quick personal note, because I get so many requests that if you tell me that, hey, I heard you on ChiBizHub, or, the SCORE Chicago-based CP workshop, that I'm more than likely going to go ahead and not scroll past your request. So definitely LinkedIn, and write a quick note. And the websites for ROI Business Funding and SCORE Chicago is roibusinessfunding.com. And for SCORE is chicago.score.org. I'll also go ahead and write those on the chat box as well.
And so on all of my social media outlets, it's Dare Michelle, and my website is daremichelleevents.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn as Dare Michelle Events, and I'll also put it in the chat box as well.
Hi. All our social media is we're pretty much on every social media platform. under Events by August. So that's events with an AVENTS August like the month. Our website is eventsbyaugust.com, and our email address is hello@eventsbyaugust.com. I would say that social media, like following us on social media, is always best to stay engaged. If you need to reach out for business related, you can always email us. And we also have a contact form on our website.
Great. Before we close out, I just wanted to see if the participants had any questions for our panelists, anything pressing that they wanted to ask. If not, you can always email Jasmine and I at info@chibizhub.com, or you can contact the ladies directly. So I'm just looking through to see if we have any questions. And then also, before we close out, I wanted to turn it over to Dara, because I know she has a great takeaway, something that she's going to be able to share with a lot of our participants. So I know you guys will definitely appreciate that as well. Dara, did you want to share a little bit about what you have for our participants today?
Sure. So when the COVID-19 first hit, I had a lot of my clients freaking out, especially like my nonprofit clients, because a lot of people were not aware of all the different platforms that they can use, how to get creative, what type of strategy. So I created a virtual event planning guide just to kind of walk you through the process. It has clickable links to help you figure out if you should use Zoom, if you should use Hopin, whatever those platforms are. So it's a very detailed guide, and also just have different strategies about how do I engage my audience, who are my audience. So I sent that to Kendra to provide to all of the attendees on this event today, just to try to give you some type of a base so that you will know how to start, or maybe you know how to start and you just need a little pointers on how to enhance it.
Thank you. So ladies, we did get two quick questions, if you wouldn't mind, before we close out. So the first question is, how frequently do you produce virtual events? So is it monthly, weekly? I guess the frequency is what the participant is looking for.
We can range anywhere from bi-weekly or monthly. Depends on the client. For ourselves, for the company itself, we're doing it at least twice a week with our IG, or with some of our demos or workshops that we do. That's by registration. And then were we supposed to answer the second question too about the budget?
Hannah, and if I can have Hannah and Dara chime in on the frequency as well in regards to the virtual events, like how frequently do you find that you're doing the virtual events now?
So for me and my clients, it all goes back to the overall goal. So I know I have a client who's starting to do her women's conference, and it's a 2-day conference. And so because it's a virtual space, we are breaking it down into 3 series. So again, I think every event is different. Every person is different. It just depends on, what the overall goal is, how much content do they have, and what do they want to see happen, like with the follow-up from the event. So it can range from you doing something, 3 times in 1 month, once a month, maybe weekly. It just all varies.
I typically look at the current events and what's happening right now and design the workshop frequency based on that. So for example, we'll typically go ahead and create a workshop, at least twice a month. But let's say if something like the PPP comes up, and one of our partners, like the SBA, is going to go ahead and say, let's go ahead and do an emergency one. Of course, we're going to go ahead and do that. So it's all about just making sure that it's relevant to the clients that we serve. And, even though we do our own, twice a month, if, for example, like ChiBizHub or the City of Chicago goes up and say, can you go ahead and participate on this webinar with us? I'll definitely go ahead and do that in addition to the ones that we create.
Awesome. So Dara, you actually touched on one of the questions that we have another participant, and they wanted to learn more about when you have a 3-day conference and that translates to a virtual event, do you see a series of smaller events? So I know you shared that you have a client and they've actually, they have a conference and they already have looked at going into smaller events. So if we can have you guys just elaborate a little bit more about that as well.
Yeah, so I have like I said, I have a client who's wanted to do her 2-day conference, and we are breaking it down into three mini conferences because the content was just too long, and I was just trying to, explain to her that you may lose people after just on a 3-hour event because, we don't want to give people information overload. So we created a plan to just really break that down into 3 series. So if the first series is really just, the networking piece and the meet and greet with the panelists, and we talk about whatever the main topic is, the second day, we just break down her agenda into 3 days so that it makes sense. And then again, so that we still are able to connect with our audience for the tools.
Hannah or Alicia, did you guys have any advice or any counsel on that particular question about the conference and how do you break it down into a series of smaller events?
The one thing about virtual events versus in-person events is that, it goes back to the audience's attention span. So with a virtual event, there's, breaks and there's networking events and people can go ahead and get snacks and stuff like that. You can't do that in a virtual event. So, I wouldn't suggest doing an all-day one. Definitely break it down, maybe just the afternoons for 3 hours. And also make sure that in terms of the logic of the content. So for example, the series that we did with the Chicago BACP, the first one is, if you have an idea, let's go ahead and assess whether it's feasible. And also let's figure out whether you even have what it takes to become an entrepreneur, because it's not for it's not for the faint of heart, right? So that's the first series. And then once we've got that figured out, let's go ahead and sit down and talk about business planning. And then the third part of the series is, now that you've got, you've got what it takes, you've got your business plan. Now let's go ahead and figure out the funding sources that would go ahead and and launch this business or this idea into a real business. So there's actually some logic to it, but at the same time, you got to put people's time and attention span into consideration as well.
We have had a couple events where we've done breakout sessions on certain topics. So like Hannah said, like if there's one topic, but you want to learn more about the business planning, or if you already have a business plan, maybe you want to know where your next step should be. So we have done small breakout sessions within, and we've used Zoom for that. But again, like I don't like doing long conferences or things like that because of the attention span. So we do try to keep those short, or if it's something that can be, if it's some content or information that can be more visually appealing, maybe those things could be like in a nice PDF or a nice PDF that may have some gifts or something on it that makes it more engaging.
Thank you so much for all of that. I see we have some questions left, but we've run out of time, so we'll make sure to connect our presenters to our audience members after this. I want to make sure, one, to obviously thank everyone for joining us, and remind everyone that also a recording of today's conversation, along with others, are featured on all of our social media platforms and our special COVID-19 business resource portal, ChiBizHub.com/COVID-19 support. As well, we encourage you all to follow us on our social media platforms for links for future webinars, grants, and information to help you better run your business during these challenging times. On behalf of everyone at World Business Chicago and ChiBizHub, we wish you yours good health and peace of mind. Thank you.